Now everything is perfect. Thank you.
Great. I see that we have mostly postdoctoral researchers. If you started recording, so let me just start over again. Hello, I'm Vladislav Ivanistsev. Here I am in multiple roles to talk about opportunities through MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship. Right, and I would like to start with this general outline of this presentation. And it will have several specific points, but we will have also discussion section where we will be able to discuss what interests you. And that's why I'm asking whether you're a postdoc or a supervisor, because depending on that, we can change the discussion topics. So what I would like to say that I also have this YouTube channel where you can find a bit more information, and I have a website. And sometimes I'm posting something which is related to career development and opportunities, not only about my electrochemical studies. And now I would like to start with advertisement that you can join the MSCA Alumni Association as soon as you have the positive results. Then you would need to apply for certificates. And after that, you can join this association, which is really cool. I would like to say that in whole Europe, they were given 150,000 postdoctoral fellowships through 30 years. And you can see that this alumni association started like a decade ago, and now we also have around 25,000 members in this association. So what it does, what it gives to you, we have regional chapters like my own Baltic States Chapter, uniting Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and that means once you are a member, you are embedded into this support network. Then there are also thematic working groups. For instance, there is a very good active group on research management, and they can even help you with your future applications. If you are already a member and you're applying for some European grants, through this working group, you can get support, advice, and maybe even include them as a partner. There are also micro grants for travels and getting some trainings. They pay for that. Specifically, I really like the online courses from Coursera, which they also pay. And there are some many other benefits, a bit smaller. In general, this is all your networking and training, additional to what you have in the Marie Curie, or even after that, when you already finish your postdoctoral. Yaris, could you please turn off the microphone? Thank you so much. And currently, I am the chair of this Baltic States chapter. I have some, you see, this certificate. This is what you can get from Coursera courses. And that means this could be one of the deliverables in your postdoctoral fellowship application. Next, let's talk about how to prepare a competitive application. And differently from probably most of the sessions, I will pay attention to something that I really think important. So sorry, this will be quite a lot of my personal opinion, and I try to root it into something that is written in the document. So let's start with understanding what is this postdoctoral fellowship is not. And you can see here, I point with my mouse that there are other schemes like national funds or European Research Council or European Innovation Council that value something which is, for instance, high quality research, high risk, high gain. This is actually not anymore, but in essence, it remained like this. If we would like to characterize it, it is very high level research with a very high potential gain. And for AIC, it is something related to commercialization in the future. But postdoctoral fellowship, what it is, what it does, it supports researchers' careers development and training by definition. And if you go through the documentation, you will see this word career, 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 career many times. And that means you are expected to have an individual career development plan. That's a document that writes down all your trajectory during the postdoctoral fellowship and after that. You have to think about your career. And you must be eager to learn from the host institution. They must provide not only research training, but some transferable skills. And of course, the host must have some kind of unique courses, because you should not go to a country from your institution if they provide basically the same training this is probably not the best option. Now, if we go to expected outcomes from the work program, then you will understand that this call is so-called training and mobility actions. And as you can see, it's about career perspectives. The same if you go to the documentation about postdoctoral fellowship, expected outcomes, you will see again the career perspectives here and your employability. So in short, you go for a postdoc in order to get skills and competences, in order to get the next career position. As simple as that, and please keep that in mind, because this kind of mindset will help you to write the proposal. And now, if we're talking about the career, I will explain you something on my example. I want to say that there are in Europe R1, R2, R3, and R4 types of researchers. R1 are the PhD students. So in some cases, it will take like, So let me explain the scale first. So why 0? Because here at this border, you become a doctor, philosophical doctor, PhD, I don't know what else could it be, but you are now the researcher. That's when your career starts. This is the milestone, and this is 0. So whatever you did before, master, bachelor, this is in minus on my scale, that it was before you became researcher. And everything at this level is R1 researcher. PhD students are R1. Then you are 2 researcher. Basically, you are a postdoc, but you are still dependent on a supervisor or a mentor. And once you get something like a starting grant, you become a group leader, which is R3. And later on, when you become absolutely independent researcher at a professor level, you are named R4. So that is where I'm heading right now. I'm currently associate professor. After 11 years of my PhD, next year I plan to become full professor. Right. So here I also show the universities from left to right, where I did my postdoc, where I returned and make my first group. Then I went for Marie Skłodowska Curie to another university, and finally I got a position at the University of Latvia. But what I would really like to say that I personally was pretty active to go to all other places shown here throughout my career in order to learn something about how they manage, how they do research, how they do trainings like transferable skills. And every time I wanted to learn something else. So it is already my own approach to go abroad through mobility and to train some new skills, competencies. Now, here's an example. When you can apply for Marie Curie. That's an example of my student who was who started to write, the proposal already before he graduated. So at this 0 level. Then I think he defended in August, and in September he applied for his postdoctoral grant, and in half a year, he got the positive result. So he got his Marie Curie from the very first attempt. That is Ritums. I'm very proud of him, and I will bring his example later on as well. What I did, I actually applied several times. I applied right after my graduation. Then I applied after my first postdoc to come back to Estonia, which I actually did, but without the MSCA support. And then I applied it right after I finished my first starting grant, and I applied it to go to Denmark, and I got it. This is another example. You see, you can wait for like almost 7 years in order to apply and get successful funding, or you can apply from the very beginning and become successful from the start. And there is something in between. That is Kaya, my colleague, and she applied after she did her postdoc to come back to Estonia. That's also possible. So here are 3 examples of real people who applied and got funded. And you should remember that it's not only about you. It could be family, your colleagues. That's a lot of people involved. You need to take them into account when you are thinking at which step of your career should you go abroad, right? But what you should definitely think about is right now, that it's April and it is finishing, and the submission is September. So you have summer, which is usually vacation periods. And if you would like to come to Latvia, then June, July, August is when your supervisor will probably have a long vacation. Also, support units are not answering so fast. So please consider that you have now May, start of the June. Oh, yeah, you should remember that supervisors will be probably busy here because there are some bachelor and master graduations. And then only in September, if I remember correctly, this time it is first half of September, something like 9th of September, when it is a deadline. So please do not postpone your submission till this week in September. You must start writing and thinking how to present your research and ideas for your career development already now. Already now start writing your proposal. That is a clear, simple message. Now, if you think about the career on my example, so I'm just showing you that I'm here in Estonia, which is north and east, and I could choose any European country to go within this internal European proposal. Here are my citations from 2011, where actually I graduated here in 2012. I can show this here, my PhD years, and then I became postdoc, and then the baby, that's actually a milestone in everyone's life. And then I've got my personal research grant. And then you remember there was a Corona. Now I'm bringing the Corona period when you barely could do research in the laboratory. So if you take a look, just giving you a second on this citation, you know, it's a very modest. I'm not a super researcher by these merits. But if you just take a look here, when is it the best time for me to apply for Marie Curie? And meanwhile, you're thinking and looking at this funny picture, I will check what are your answers. So potential supervisor is here, great. And supervisors, I'm so glad that there are supervisors. So now, please, as supervisors, take a look also at this plot. And what I would say that if you are a young and prominent, then you're going up, everything is fine. You probably don't really need this postdoctoral fellowship because your career is already doing well, especially if you have your topic, if you have many publications. But you might really need this when your career is stagnating for some reasons, and you can actually explain that this will be an opportunity to come back to the science because this is one of the very few ways to get funded. And that's what worked for me. As an example, and I'm just giving you this idea that if the objectives of this fellowship is to support researchers' career and like promote excellence in research, then please consider very critically at which stage you are and whether you really need this specific fellowship and you are really ready to go abroad in order to improve your career. Think about that in terms of progression of your career. Are you at the right stage? Now, I may be talking too much about myself. Let's see what I have on my slide. Let's talk about those supervisors. And I put some information here about what are they doing and what are those H indexes, what the university's ranking are. Do you think it matters? Do you think it really matters who is your supervisor? Like an obvious question, answer will be, of course, it does matter. But then the most specific question is, to what extent? And I would say that you would need to find a good match between you and your supervisor. And that would be, again, about your career. So let me say, when I applied first time, well, I would say the supervisors didn't matter so much in my case. The minimum criteria is that your supervisor is capable to supervise you. You know, he has a very clear record of past successful PhD defenses, and he has experience with mentoring supervisors. Like, I'm actually starting also the supervision of 2 ERA fellows this year, and my profile just says that I supervised till successful completion 3 PhD students, and I have a record of supervising, mentoring 5 postdocs, and that is enough to be already an excellent candidate for a supervisor. What I would like to say that really changed the outcome of my proposals. As you can see, I applied in 2012, 14, and 20, and I've got a dramatic increase in the points. Because why? What have I changed? Well, first of all, just read the guidelines and set the right objectives. And the right objective will be about your career development, not about your researcher, supervisor. And I will give you some examples you will never forget. Okay. Then what I also did, I updated my individual career development plan. So this application was about my career. And then I set my objectives according to the gaps in my CV. And then I choose the right match between me, group, and host, and I could explicitly write why we are the match, what I'm bringing to them, and what I can learn only from that host, and why the supervisor is going to spend some time to contribute to my career, to my employability later. And actually, I started to use a lot of software and checklists. And nowadays, of course, I'm using AI in like over 50 different ways, not just for writing. So that was the thing. And now I give you a perspective, a very simple perspective. It's pretty naive. And I account that you have all seen the Lord of the Ring, because it is about the fellowship, and the MSCA project is something that you're going to like carry on, right? So the right perspective is not this one. This is totally misunderstanding of the MSCA objectives. And it gives you a very, not you, it gives the reviewer a pretty bad impression when you start to write about your precious scientific idea, and that your supervisor is probably a Nobel Prize winning laureate. Actually, my supervisor, I think he was nominated for the Nobel Prize. He didn't get it yet. And I don't need to write this as a proposal, okay? And then never write that you're going to publish like 10 papers in Nature or Science. And yeah, please don't write that it is your ticket to any kind of laboratory in Europe or in the world. Instead of that, by the analogy with the Lord of the Rings, what you should write, according to the documentation actually, that you're ready for the next step in your career, right? That you have all the needed minimal and probably unique skills. Yeah, that this guy here, he has unique skills, but by any merit, he is not the best superhero in that Lord of the Ring book, of course. He just has modest, unique skills, and he's ready to carry on. And yes, so you have more or less an idea where to move on. It doesn't have to be very specific, but at least you know what you're carrying and where. And you have the right fellowship. And by fellowship, I mean, please do remember that you're just one small fellow in a big group, and you will have supervisors, senior staff, technicians, coordinator, and you will have all other people around. You should mention them in the proposal. So of course, it will depend on the discipline, because sometimes you have only you and your supervisors. I guess that could be in philosophy, but maybe you still can think about some other stuff around you. Even in that situation, you will have support staff from the university, right? And you should think about them as part of your fellowship. And most important slide is this. You will be evaluated by the panel. There will be some main project evaluator. They do not really care much about your research. They live absolutely in a different worlds. They are like elves, and they don't understand what are you doing. They try to understand it, and it is your task to explain it in such a way that you will explain to them your project will make their life better as well. So their prosperity depends on the success of you carrying on this project. So simple. And if you think about the evaluators, please always take their perspective, because you can think that they are like robots. They follow guidelines, they start from 0 score, and then they will give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they always evaluate again criteria. Well, probably it's not always the case, because they have emotions. They start with, actually, I do believe that they start with positive attitude, take a proposal, start reading, and then they need to put marks in the table. So this is where they have Excel table, and there are no options. Like they have to put either 1 or 5. It's a bit differently programmed, but essentially it's just ticking some boxes in an Excel table, and they have limited time. And you also have a limited time. That's how I was writing my proposal. I had kids, and on one part of the screen, we were watching cartoons, and another part of the screen, I was writing. And that is reality. Well, if you can write in an office where no one disturbs you, I really envy you. Please do not expect that from all other people, especially the evaluators. Now, another important point, and probably for supervisors who the supervisors, if you are here, please listen carefully. Let's take a look on the sections. And let's just admit there are three main sections: excellence, impact, and implementation. They give different percentages, and those percentages more or less correspond to the number of questions we have, like 2 questions here, 3 questions here, and we have 4 questions here, which should be divided. Actually, the second one should be divided into research and transferable training. Now, it's kind of easy next to calculate. In the evaluation form, for 1-1, you will have 3 points, and this is mainly about research. In 1-2, you will have evaluators will need to tick 5 questions. Only one of them is about your methodology. Everything else is about gender dimension and open science and something like IPR. So what I will tell you, please listen carefully, that in all these evaluations, there are basically 4 questions which are about research, out of 14 only in the excellence section. And that makes about no more than 20% for research. No more than 20%. So we can now apply 20-80 rule. A very common mistake is candidate and a supervisor will dedicate most of their time, like 80% of their time, on drafting the very first part about research. So people really love to write like 3 pages on research, ideas, concepts. So cool. But in fact, it will only give you 20% of the scores. What you should pay attention is all other sections. And what you should understand that differently from other grants, what is the impact? This will be very clearly stated that this is impact on the applicant's career. And what does it mean? It means that you must be employable after 2 years of postdoctoral fellowship. It means, okay, we will probably come back to this question later, but just as an example, if you imagine yourself just doing research for 2 years and publishing just like, let's say, 3 papers within this period, that is not gonna increase your employability. There's something else you need to account to be more employable. So please, from now, when you start writing your proposal, think about it differently. You must spend 20% on your research, and you must spend 80% of your time and efforts on everything else. Do not underestimate that. Okay? So if there is one message I want all supervisors to understand, is that you're investing your time in such a way that you do not overemphasize the research. All other sections are even more important than research, just by taking the number of questions which are going to be evaluated by reviewers. And I made some AI scheme for that. It's just a nice illustration. You've got the points. It's 20% for research, and this is basically in this 1-1 section only, and a methodology is just one of 5 evaluated points. Now, what does it give to us? It gives us a recipe how not to write. If you just write that, here I am with my research and my supervisor, and that will give us amazing scientific results, which will lead to a huge impact on the field. That's how we usually do it, but this is not the way. And let me write, this is exactly like something that I took from my own proposals when I was first writing, that at the University of Strathclyde, I will do the pioneering research on ionic liquids, and under the supervision of my outstanding Professor Fedorov in that field, I will publish, well, I wrote something like maybe 5 papers in high impact journals. That's literally what I wrote. And that didn't work. And it will never work for anyone else. What you should write. You're going to gain transferable skills. You're going to gain hard competences. And that will lead to a determined career development. And that will have impact on your career. So at the University of, let's say, at the University of Copenhagen, I will train through research in electrocatalysis with experienced researchers led by Professor just Ross Meisel. And I will be training, I believe I was writing there something like proposal writing. That was really important for me. Supervision was important for me, and something else which I don't remember, but these were transferable skills. Probably that was communication, right? So let's say train in communication, supervision, and proposal writing. To apply for personal funding, to continue my research on electrocatalysis, and that will align with the growing market in fuel cells. And that actually aligns with Sustainable Development Goal. So you write more like this to explain why after this fellowship you will be employed. So now something I would like to discuss with you. There are some common misconceptions, and I will now not stop the presentation, but I would like to see everyone else who is in the chat. And at this point, I would suggest we have a small discussion here. How can I engage you? Like, could you please write in the chat whether one of these misconceptions is exactly what you're thinking about this Marie Curie right now? And these are misconceptions, so we can discuss them. While you're writing to the chat, I will tell you that I used, for this misconception, there are so many articles I couldn't read myself, so I used deep search to go through many sources, and I extracted those misconceptions from peer-reviewed publications only. There are many, many publications. I should probably put some links that analyze the whole program. As I told you, there were 150,000 postdocs already. So we have quite a lot of statistics and knowledge. So this is based on that kind of research. Now, I see that someone is writing in the chat. And if someone would like to talk, please. Yeah, so I've got some answers from applicants probably. Yeah, and of course it depends on the writing, but what you should understand that when you are applying to elite group or supervisor who is a very high rank, then like the obvious question, really obvious question, very simple question would be, if you're supervisor, like it was in case of Ritum's, my PhD, who graduated with me and then he went abroad, there was a very obvious question, like his supervisor became promoted as, I think he became a rector. While we were writing, well, he was writing, I will explain why. And then the obvious question to ourselves were like, okay, if you go there and he became rector, will that supervisor actually have time to spend with you and supervise you? So if you have a very prominent researcher, there should be kind of balance. It doesn't have to be the super well-known, renowned researcher, but it should be also clear that this researcher, your supervisor, is interested in you, in your research, in your career, and that supervisor actually has time to spend with you. Like maybe 1 hour a week would be enough. And if this is not the case, you would need to write in the proposal who else in the group are going to support you. Because this is a fellowship. Remember my picture. If you're thinking about Gandalf, he probably didn't spend much time with Frodo, but when he appeared, he did the magic. So if you're thinking in mind that there is a really Nobel Prize winning laureate, then there must be a place in that proposal that he will come and help you very specifically with something in your research or career. Yeah, so proposal, I am reading the chat. Proposal is not mainly about research. There are so many other sections which are completely unrelated to research. This is about your career development. I would like to hear from supervisors. I have no idea what supervisors are checking. Like, are they checking that you have a supervisor who had MSCA before? What definitely helps if you explain that this supervisor is a knowledgeable person, that he knows how to supervise, that he will be aware that there is a supervision guide from the European Union, And a statement that you will adhere to the European rules is definitely helping. So in any case, you need to prove with facts that your supervisor is ready to take care of you. And if the supervisor has experience, that's of course, and you can prove that he has supervised MSCAs, that is great. Your supervisor can be assistant professor, no problem. We have very different schemes in the whole Europe. Assistant professors can have experience of supervising. You know, it's so easy. Your supervisor must have led to defense at least one PhD student. I think I remember that is in some official documents. That is absolutely fine. Rosie is asking about experience of the institution. That is expected, like University of Latvia. I think in the recent years, we don't have any MSCA. That's not a problem because you can always write, like in case of University of Latvia, we have newly established units to support you. That is the research office and the Innovation and Association Center. So they are here. Although we don't have experience yet with supervision of MSCA, we are ready to host you. Is it possible hosted by current institute? Do team, please explain, what do you mean? You mean to go from one institute to the same institute? No, that's not possible. There are specific mobility rules. Oh, actually, I see that Donuts asks, how will projects be evaluated if they are all written by artificial intelligence? Donuts, there are no restrictions for that. And this is actually something that we need to put into the misconceptions. We had a very long discussion about this during the conference I attended last week, and that was for Alumni Association. There were representative of European Commission and also from the MSCA office. So there is a kind of common fear that the increase of applications were only about artificial intelligence, but we are missing some other factors. First of all, this is a whole academic situation in the world, plus the increased instability due to the wars and conflicts all over the world. We must not forget that there is a network of national contact points who have developed amazing materials like a handbook for writing MSCA, and that helps others to write the proposals very much. So like 5 years ago, we didn't have much material and knowledge, and now you can go online and basically there is a 80-page long document explaining exactly what you need to write in every subsection. And we should not underestimate that. And I mean that the increase of I will show this, increase of the thresholds is not only about artificial intelligence. So there is a problem of evaluation because of a lot of candidates applying, but this number is not only because everyone is trying to use artificial intelligence. So your question now, taking that into account, the question is, we're still, there are still reviewers. I spoke to reviewers. They might see this artificial intelligence. They are not instructed explicitly to punish for that, but they are still just, they will grade exactly according to the evaluation criteria. I actually don't know if I answered your question, so please, if not, we can discuss it. You can talk as well, please. What is the perfect time to email your supervisor? Right now, today, after this session, just email your supervisor. Better phone the supervisor. Don't be afraid. If it is your supervisor who will spend with you 2 years, don't be afraid just to call and write. That's fine. Oh, so let's go with the supervision. The role of the supervisor and the successful implementation. Actually, I'm not going to talk about implementation of project as is. I would like to talk about success and the role of supervision. Now, this is about the mindset. And there is, as you can see on the left, there are successful people and they are unconsciously using the grow mindset. We all know them. So what is it? MSCA doesn't define your career. It only increases your probabilities. And I would like you to think that if you have a fixed mindset, which is kind of usual for people, it doesn't mean it's good, but some people will think that abilities are predefined and the career path is therefore defined by you and your abilities. Whether if you change your mindset to a growth, then you can think that abilities you can develop through effort and learning. And through that learning, your career's path will be multiple and you can choose some of them. So what I usually see, like now I've been at a large conference, so I've seen it like on dozens of people, that some of them think that before the MSCA application, they think that this fellowship will decide their future. Okay, who of you are thinking that this will be like your lucky lottery ticket? Well, the truth is that it is going only increase your chances for success. And well, when you get the MSCA, a lot of candidates will think, I'm safe now. So that's my lottery ticket. All the laboratories will be open for me. But it's much better to think in a growth mindset that there is still high uncertainty and there are still choices. You just need to take this micro efforts all the time in order to increase the chances. Why is it so? Let me show it on the numbers. Actually, just this, well, you can enjoy the view. I'm trying to hide my panel because I do not see what's written on the title myself. Okay, now you should align your expectations with probabilities, not your desires. Let's start from the upper corner. By the way, you have all the links to find all these numbers. So the upper corner says that actually, let's say 1 of 10 PhDs will get the tenure track position, and every second PhD dreams about professorship. So there is a clear mismatch of your desires and probabilities. Now, if you take a look on this PhD in biology and the US, you can see those flows. Take a look on the black numbers only. What you will see here is some of them will go to the academia to get a tenure track faculty position. Almost the same amount will go to industry, and most of the PhDs will end up in non-academia. What we know from MSCAs, if you get MSCA, you will be employed right immediately after MSCA, only about half of the cases. But in 2 years, around 90% of MSCA will have some contracts. They will be employed. And what is interesting is that most of them will say that the skills they trained during MSCA were useful. Guess what are those skills? What are the most useful skills all the MSCA who attended in this questionnaire considered valuable? This is communication and networking. Remember that, okay? It's not research. And now those numbers will tell you that 72% of MSCAs went to academia, but only 1/3 of them actually got a permanent contract after 2 years of the fellowship. So these are numbers. And about 90% went to industry, and in industry, 80% of them got a contract. So they got permanent position. You see, there is a misproportion between academia and industry. If you go to industry, it's more probable you will get a permanent contract. If you go to academia, there are still low chances that you will stay in academia. Please start thinking statistically. Now you know the numbers and you will be able to look them. And I will bring you back to a very simple idea that fixing on precise results is kind of destructive, like on this right picture, but growing along your career with a specific purpose is pretty constructive. So be like a guy on the left. And in your journey, please keep calm and carry on all the time. Now, there will be opposition, and I bet some of the supervisors here can give me also the numbers. And I've seen those posts a lot of times. So I took one of the posts and I took some logical explanation from here that applicants will spend about 100 hours and supervisors will spend 50 hours. And the cost of total is like 27,000 euros for writing one application. So If we take account all the applications from the last year, multiply, we get over 400 millions of research time spent. And the PF awarded only 400 million. So there is this kind of a lot of noise in the media right now saying that why should I even spend time on sending these applications? And I would say that is not the best way to do the calculations. Actually, I would come back to this mindset. This is a very known psychological framework. There is a book for that, and it is pretty used in modern learning theories. What we should admit indeed that there are years here on the scale, and these are the number of points you need to gain in order to get the MSCA. And as you can see, there were some high number like 95, and then there was a drop that is related to COVID, and then there is an increase again. And actually, as a supervisor, established researchers should understand that is kind of manipulation. You see, the simple manipulation is a scale. We are zooming into the scale, and the change is just 1%. Well, this is a huge change anyway, 1%. But the thing is that this is not the reason to say myself, I'm not going to invest any time into writing this proposal. Why? I'll give you one example of what my PhD returns did. So I'm his supervisor, but I was not his supervisor for the postdoctoral fellowship. Still, I wanted to help him. So I'm the first person to him who came to say, here's my research. What can I do to improve my chances to get the Marie Curie? And we discussed this thing. And I just told him, well, you need to write this sentence here and you make it bold. Yes, like I can read it aloud. That this is so simple that my preliminary computation data implies the hypothesis that curvature increases absorption energy. Simple. And therefore, it's possible to weaken CO absorption, which is the main topic. And in this fellowship, I want to verify that prediction. And I will do that in the experimental group of Herrero at the University of Alicante. You know, you're talking like a normal person here, no fancy wording. But next, what happens is we do the whole literature overview with just one citation, because we say, in a recent review, it was said about his preliminary research. If experimentally validated, this concept could pave the way for developing next generation catalyst and unprecedented performance, accelerating progress in energy conversion and storage technology. Just 4 citations in half a page. And then we actually started to write something about, not so much about research, something about methodology, and we addressed everything else. How much time did I spend? I actually, as a dedicated supervisor, I wanted him to encourage. I know that there are always a barrier for applicants to start writing. So I created a document somewhere between, before he even defended his thesis. And I told him, here's a document in Google Drive, start writing. And then my only contribution was on the 10th of September. And I know that actually the host supervisor, he didn't contribute much, but they had only a verbal conversation about this. So it doesn't go well with this number that supervisors spend 50 hours. I've spent 2 coffee breaks, okay? And that can go like this. But my comments were based on experience of how to write these proposals. My comments, I believe they were valuable for the success. Okay, that basically, there are many supervisors who do not put any effort except for just talking on a phone or video conference. And that is enough, because this is individual fellowship. Okay. Now, still for supervisors, I would like to say, and for everyone else, that there is a study. I need to check. Oh, the title is correct. If you Google it, you will find the study by European Commission. That they understand the gap, they understand the needs, they understand the competition between China, US, and European Union into investment into the research and development and innovation. So this Marie Skłodowska Curie will be supported in future, and they will probably increase the funding accordingly to have many more postdocs. So this is a message for postdocs, and this is a message for supervisors as well. It is worth not be afraid of the numbers. It is worth gaining the expertise of writing this kind of proposals. And at this stage, I can also start some discussion here, and I will check who is writing in the chat. Yes, so we will have the recording. Great. Editor wrote, for those postdocs who are looking for new opportunities in Latvia, yes, please, editor, let's advertise. If you're looking for opportunities in the University of Latvia, we have amazing team at the research office, and they are going to support you. We have amazing contact point. I will recall that at the end. Good. We have kind of sorry, I have this point. Let's discuss the success. I think that for supervisors, hosting like this experience of hosting develops supervision and funding experience. It's good idea to have MSCA at your place. It gives you some kind of prestige. It gives you confidence that we are also able to do that. And most importantly, by this experience, you align with European standards, because more and more they are talking about good practices in supervision. They have a specific document. They will soon create a specific guideline how to manage projects at the European level. And that's just a good idea to have that experience. But I would say that, I'm not sure, but we had this talks at the conference that there will be new programs which will build on that experience. So if you don't get experience of even writing the proposals for Marie Skłodowska Curie Actions, then you're going to exclude yourself from opportunities for funding in the future. Okay. And for applicants, what do I have here? A very simple message. And at the same time, before I tell this, yes, donuts, of course, that's what I am advocating. We should record the presentation and give it to you later so that you can choose which section to watch. And of course, I think that you can also write to me, and hopefully I will find time to answer you. Most efficiently is to find me on LinkedIn. Okay. Now, for applicants, when you're writing this proposal, statistically, you are very, it's improbable that you will get it, right? Especially from the first time. But what do you gain when you're writing this proposal? You learn how to do that. And most importantly, if you do it honestly, then you will get the plan for your career development. So it won't depend if you get MSCA. You will have that proposal and the plan, which you can resubmit to other grants. Maybe you can rewrite it for a starting grant. Maybe it will fit into exploration grants. There are some grants where it doesn't matter who you are, they are very short, and you can apply and get small money to explore opportunities. So once you have the grant, you can start reusing this. And I understand that at this stage, it is the very, very first grant you have written. That is most probable. So it's like if you're ever gonna get a grant, you just need to have a proposal, and that will be your main outcome of applying for that Marie Curie. Especially if you get support from your supervisor, from your host institution, maybe from your alma mater, your own university. There will be so many benefits for writing that I think they are weighting the fear of not getting the grant. So let me go further. Going abroad and returning, I would say that, okay, my main point, when you get the grant, you might realize that writing this grant was much easier than actually implementing the proposal. Because if you go abroad, there you will have so many obstacles. That's a real plan for settling in Denmark. You need to go through all these small steps. By all these small steps, I mean literally going somewhere physically, talking to people, and then having some actions and probably more interactions in between, getting this yellow card, going through the tax cards, importing your card is very difficult. You must find your dentist. And if you have kids, it will be all multiplied several times. This is a long process. Cool. Getting the grant, you will feel that getting the grant was easier than actually implementing it. So be ready for that. You must become a local, or you just die in this society. you must follow standard operation procedures in that country. Forget about your past experience. Never complain. Just start acting according to the standard operation procedures. You always keep calm. And instead of complaining, you go and ask for help from dedicated people like human resources. You must plan in advance. And for many European countries, that means you either arrive in May or you arrive in August, especially if it's Nordic countries, because it might be very depressive. You would need to take the pills with vitamin D, most probably, in order not to get depression, because in Nordic countries, in winter, it is so dark. So it's better to come in May or in August when it's still light. First do, and then try to optimize, especially at work, but even more importantly at home. So I would suggest you go first to IKEA and just buy anything like a chair, whatever, a table, and then only you think about fancy stuff. And say no. That's my main advice. If you are going to a postdoc, you are going to focus on that specific project. That is what will increase your probability for success. Forget about any past obligations. If your former supervisor asks, let's finish some unfinished paper and submit it, you probably say no, because this is your chance actually to implement your career plan, which you have written in the proposal. You should not be distracted by anything else. Now I have some slides. You will just get them. This is to inform you what is competences. It's very easy. There is a scheme. And then what you need to understand that in the proposal, you should write about formal training and informal training. Okay, this is self-explanatory, so I will just skip it. Easy thing that for research objectives, it's as simple as just have 1, 2, 3 research objectives, but you must also have 1, 2, 3 career objectives. And to do that, you should go and search for career competence framework. This is a tool developed by European Union, and it explains what kind of stages R1, R2, R3, R4 you're aiming at. And then at each stage, like if you would like to go from PhD to postdocs, this is from R1 to R2, you would need to train specific skills, like you expect to be trained. And for instance, what I did, I checked, for instance, doing research. That is something that I lacked in my profile. Like managing research tools, I'm pretty good with Word and other tools, so I would skip that. Making an impact was not so important for me. I was actually publishing well before I applied, but doing research, like looking for new methods, that was really important for me. And therefore, I put a career objective here. I will master the computational approach through training through research under X and Y guidance, and I will submit 3 manuscripts in Q1 journal. So indeed, this is kind of really research thing, but it is related to career because this is my future proposal, my future research objectives. So I put it here as a career objective. And let's see this working with others. This is one of the categories in research comp, by the way. So working with others, I set a career objectives. I will take university course on supervision and participate in the work group activities on life work balance, and I will assist PhD students supervision. So that is the way to improve my skills in working with others. You see, it should be as straightforward as this. You indicate what is the gaps in your CV, which stops you from getting to the next level, and that's it. And usually you have the career timeline like this. You have short-term goals, you have long-term goals. Long-term goals, you relate with your, let's say, European Union. I'm from European Union. My future is related to European Union. If you're coming from, let's say, India, and you are planning to return to India, which is totally valid, which is great. If it is your career plan, let's do it like this. Then you will say that India is facing some climate change, and I would like to relate my research to the long-term goal of fighting the climate change specifically in India. That could be fine, okay? For your short-term goal, you should just name a position. What are you going to do? And it is like so simple that you have something before and you list your trainings, something that you're going to do during the fellowship, 3 research training objectives, 3 training in careers, and what you're going to do after. Now, the small exercise for all of you. Choose what is your career goal out of this list. Whom are you want to become? And write it to the chat. Okay, so I would like to see some interaction. Otherwise, I do not know whether you still hear me. Good. Very simple task. Please choose out of this list that you have on your screen. What is your, editor, that's an amazing choice. Policymaker, that is the expectation. If you write policymaker, you will be definitely employed. If you explain that in Latvia, there is a lack of professionals in the policymaking area who actually have the research background, and I will go to the University of Latvia to have something in between, some training in policymaking and also about research. This is your not just a lucky ticket. That is a very concrete, how to say, like a invitation to become a policy maker in Latvia, right? Now, so I don't know if I have approved the recording. Now, someone wrote that probably he wants to become a senior researcher. Someone is talking AI to take notes. Great. Yeah, so it's great. You just write, I would like to become associate professor, assistant professors. Once you decided this, the simple question would be, have you ever thought, what do you need to become a professor? And I have some numbers from a university here in the Baltic States that you must have publications as the leading authors, right? So during your postdocs, you just need to create publications with a leading author. Who is the leading author? The first or the last one? And you should do it. But it's not very specified how many publications. You just have to have some publications. You have some, then it's a specific number of collaborative publications published within 10 years. Collaborative means it's not only you and supervisor, but it's your postdoc supervisor, someone else. Then there is some criteria for age index. But what is most interesting that you have this popularization in the past 5 years. If you don't know this, you will never get a position at that institution simply because you were focusing only on publishing papers, but you should also do some popularization. And that's what you should consider when you're doing postdoc. Next, if you would like to apply for a starting grant, usually in a starting grant, you should show transferable competences like writing, international intersectoral cooperation, that's your partners. You must show some supervision experience, bachelor or master, that could be okay for starting grants. You should show research mobility, and with this PF, you definitely show that. And you should show quality of publications. That's very interesting criteria. They are not asking you for number. They are just asking vaguely what is the quality of your publications. So you see, if you are focusing only on research, you might be missing some of this or some of that. And I would advise you to go through this link later and check what are those transferable skills which are actually increasing your employability. And I want you to consider something that in Eastern Europe, who is assistant professor? It's someone who has teaching experience and he has supervision experience. This is required in Eastern Europe. This is required. This is the must you have. It's not only about research. Whether if you go to Western Europe to become assistant professor, you must have kind of a bit higher impact publications, but teaching and supervision is just expected. Please consider that in different universities, in different countries, the requirements are simply different. So when you're doing you decided, for instance, from the previous exercise that you would like to become assistant professor. Start thinking strategically. Where do you want to become an assistant professor? In Europe? If you go to Cambridge, you need to check. What do they require after that? Because you might be easily in the situation that you have just done this kind of prestigious fellowship and no one is interested in you staying at the faculty. And the reason is that because you don't have the right competences. Think about it. Okay, I'm actually finishing. So sorry, I'm 5 minutes late already, but we also started a bit late. There is some discussion, right? Be ready that for applicants, you would face all this is listed here and even more. For supervisor, well, for supervisors, if supervisors are still here, please, that is something that we must align right now. This fellow is an independent researcher, and you don't really need to manage that fellow. It's not, you can, of course, but micromanagement is not expected. Because this over control will limit the growth of, and it contradicts the logic of the whole MSCA fellowship. Okay. In the proposal, it should be already clear that the fellow has a very specific plan for career development. It means specific research training and specific transferable skills training focused on career development. And you should not stand here as a barrier. You should just mentor and guide the fellow. And please, 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 I have heard this so many times. People start just discussing salaries. As a supervisor, stop any discussion and comparison of the salary of your fellow with any other one at the faculty. Okay, I think this is something I really wanted to talk to supervisors. Yeah. Now, this is a session where you can write your questions in the chats and we can discuss. What do I mean by popularization? I'm reading this question from the chat. Lorenzo, popularization means participating in the research nights. So if you go to Latvia, you should know that the University of Latvia got this grant to organize every year a research night. If you come there with a stand, with some animation, some performance, this will count as popularization. If you go to, we have a research cafe actually. So if you go to a general public where everyone is welcome and you talk about your science there, this is popularization to general public. If you create some materials for school, this is popularization. And in many institutions, you are expected to do popularization to some extent. Okay. Now, that was a very long lecture. Please, if you have some questions, if you have reflections on what we see on the last slides, please write to the chat. And while you are writing to the chats, I just want to say thanks to everyone. Here's my email. I have a website. You can check my YouTube. I really want to say that we have amazing research office at the LU. We have new facilities, new buildings we are developing. And I think Edita could tell more about the summer school, which is, I think now there is a registration open for that. I would like also to say that we have amazing Liana Karisha, our national contact point, and she is from the government representing Research Council of Latvia. And she's also meant to support all applicants who are coming to Latvia or also Latvians who are going abroad. Now we have a question from one. Yeah, it's so simple. Oh, okay, Donuts, I will answer this question later. It's pretty easy. I think I have been mobile so many times that I have changed emails and I have encountered a very simple truth. And I will tell this to applicants as well. When you go to somewhere for 2 years, your email will be deleted after 2 years. So I've changed, I think, 5 universities. I'm just a mobile person. So I'm here for a position for 5 years. And then I will decide whether I would like to seek for another opportunity where I can contribute to development, or I will stay at the University of Latvia. That's to be honest. And I believe if we're recording this presentation, then, and it is on the website, so it might be useful for someone in 5 years after this recording. So very pragmatic to think. I would like to have Gmail here so that I will definitely be able to answer your questions in 10 years period. And it's based to my previous experience where my university emails were just simply deleted. Okay. Now, the question was, there is no one simple recipe, Wang. Of course, what you already listed in the question, it's all valid. It can be complementary skills, sure. And it actually must be complementary because there is one section specifically for two-way knowledge transfer. That means you're going to learn something research-wise from your host, but you also must bring something new to the hosts. And that is a requirement there. It doesn't have to be only research. You might be, for instance, having some amazing skills in popularization of science. So that's what you will bring to the host in Latvia, and you will help to develop that kind of competences here. Okay. Well, for instance, a very cool thing when you have worked in industry for some years, and now you are coming back to the academia, and you have this kind of inside knowledge how to engage with industry. And that's what we will need at the Acceleration and Innovation Center as well, not only the theoretical knowledge, but also your practical knowledge, how to do this knowledge transfer. Sorry, so many knowledge I'm referring here. Yeah, so there is a section for complementarity in the proposal. Sure, everyone is asking for a record of that lecture. I'm very glad for that, sure. Nice, and I myself, I'm looking also for candidates. I'm doing many things, catalysis, CO2 capture. I focus on applications. I collaborate with experiments. I had a training until PhD only in experiments, so I understand well electrochemistry. But for the last decade, I was doing simulations, and I'm into theory as well. If you know someone who wants to come to Latvia, I'm open for this.
Thank you, Vladislav, very much for this engaging presentation. I think you gave a huge inspiration for all of us today. So thank you very much. If we do not have any more questions, I think we can thank you.
And probably the last one.
Yes.
That's Dmitry. Thank you so much for being here for 1 hour. Thank you.
And we wish you all the best of luck in your proposal writing journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.